maybe the NBA and the star power of the NBA could use some Ryan A. Mudd life coaching in their life right now, just based on where the league is headed and the media rights and everything else that's involved. They need star power to step up.
Well, star power in the NBA is LeBron James, it's Steph Curry, it's Kevin Durant. All right, this is for everybody.
Yeah,
you can go back generations, and they're going to know those three people, right? I saw my dad, who's getting ready to have a big birthday, about turn 80. My dad knows those three guys. Okay. But if I told my dad right now, hey, the biggest stars left in the NBA playoffs are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he'd have no idea who that is, even though he's a budding superstar. Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Anthony Edwards, Jokic, Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. These are names, Paul George. These are names that basketball fans, sports fans know, but not true star power with the likes of LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant out of the playoffs. So my question is, with a lack of star power, can an individual team and a market become the star of the NBA playoffs? I'm looking at you, New York Knicks. I'm looking at you, Madison Square Garden. Ben Stiller, courtside, getting excited. That is the place to be right now in the NBA. And I have been channel surfing a bit, watching some of these playoff games. It's the best atmosphere at Madison Square Garden. There is some intrigue there with that franchise and that market. If they can go on a run, they play tonight trying to close out the Philadelphia 76ers. They're up 3-1. If they win, they will likely get the Indiana Pacers, who were up 3-1 as the 6th seed over 3-seeded Milwaukee. There's a good chance that we get a New York Knicks, Boston Celtics, 1 versus 2 NBA Eastern Conference final. I think that's pretty good. Now, what's pretty good for the NBA right now in 2024? It's pretty bad compared to past years. Really bad compared to the 90s, if you look at NBA ratings. But it could still be a pretty good thing if the Knicks are that team to go on the run. I'm curious, Hutton, if there's going to be some sex appeal with the Knicks, with Jalen Brunson, if they can keep this up and continue on their playoff march and get to at least the Eastern Conference final.
This will pick up. This is huge for them, because for the league too, because if it picks up, it's better than what we saw with Denver, because we had a similar conversation last year.
Yeah.
With Jokic and everyone, whether or not he's the MVP, who's voting for him, who's not, why you would leave him off the ballot, Mark Jackson, all that, right? With the Knicks, the national brand of the New York Knicks and the city of New York getting totally behind it, this would be massive for the league.
I think so. I know the league hopes so.
I think the response to the stars of the Knicks would be way different, I guess is what I'm saying. You learn more about them because more people are watching.
Yeah, I think Jalen Brunson is that star for the Knicks and the one that could be a darling. And he's not the biggest guy also, which always helps, kind of the underdog story. Not that anything about New York City is an underdog, but this Knicks team could kind of become that for the NBA. And I think it could be a big-time benefit to the league if the Knicks continue playing and playing well, and sports fans can get, for a lot of them, introduced to the NBA this season. Maybe no one's watched throughout the year.
Not yet.
And they get into it now because they're watching Madison Square Garden in that atmosphere. That, to me, that's got to be the hope of the NBA office.
Davey, do a quick search. Draft night, Thursday night last week, the ratings for the playoffs in the NBA compared to the NFL draft. The NFL draft had 12 million tune in to watch that first round. I'm curious what the NBA playoffs drew in their postseason compared to
it's going to be
an event where
awful compared to the NBA, NFL draft.
And the ratings were up for the draft compared to an event where the football is not even shown. The actual ball to play the sport's not on the screen, period.
So let's see here. John Lewis with Sports Media Watch put out that the NBA playoff ratings have suffered only a modest decline thus far. NBA playoff games average a 1.7 rating and 3.17 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, TNT, True TV, and NBA TV through Sunday, down a tick in ratings and 6% in viewership from last season.
I bet it was down significantly, though, that Thursday night of the NFL draft. Whatever game was on opposite of it, just that individual game had to be way down versus the NFL draft.
So the NBA rights.
But I do think there's a chance the Knicks will help. push that number up compared to last year. Again, not compared to the heyday of the NBA or anything like that, but compared to a year ago. This is not Caitlin Clark's effect on women's college basketball that they receive an all-time high and the WNBA draft receives an all-time high in viewership. But I do think it'll improve upon last year's NBA playoffs, maybe the year before, if the Knicks can get hot and go on a run.
I wonder if can the NBA have the version of Caitlin Clark come into the league? I'm not so sure because I think it's the way the league is played as well that you gravitate towards or you away from. I think that's also kind of a turnoff for the average sports fan.
Well,
and the blowouts.
I think that
the 30-point swings. We saw another one last night nearly with Boston and Indiana or Miami. Excuse me.
Well,
it's just
that player needs to be American.
Well, but they also need to be able to play the complete game. They need to play defense.
Yeah, and they're not doing enough of that across the league. But the Caitlin Clark of the NBA is some farm kid that sprouts out of nowhere that becomes this just dynamite sensation.
Well, the version,
but we've seen so much of that.
We've seen that with Steph Curry.
NBA.
We saw that with Steph Curry.
And we saw it with Larry Bird. Before that, we've seen those stories before in the men's game, and for whatever reason, Caitlin Clark just caught the zeitgeist better than anyone else. Victor Wembanyama is not going to do that for the NBA.
No.
As great as he might be, but he's not going to do that for the NBA. Luka Doncic isn't going to do that.
No, because he doesn't want to be there.
We know Joker's not doing that for the NBA already. He's a great player. So, tough to know what the answer is for that league. Maybe it'll be the Knicks.
Mac McClung's not doing that by winning the dunk contest.
No, he can't do that from the G League either, where he plays. Not on an NBA roster full time.
Yeah, but I don't even know what G League team he plays for.
I don't know G League teams. I'll take it a step further.
Well, we know one, but that's it.
Well, I knew the one that was Ignite?
Yeah.
The one that all the high school kids were on, that they've disbanded. So now I don't know any.
Well, but that was basically NIL. So why?
Well, now that team is in Australia, right? Doesn't not Doc Rivers. Who?
Oh, I don't know if they were answering the question.
I thought they were answering the question. Who is the guy that took over? Oh, Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith has part ownership in the Australian League and a team now that is basically the G League Ignite. And now there's an Australian Pro League that is obviously in Australia. That's the new cultivation system to pay guys that don't want to go to college to play basketball before the NBA.
Chad, you have the Motor City Cruise, the Salt Lake City Stars, Greensboro Swarm.
Never heard of any of those.
Cleveland Charge.
Nope. Why would Cleveland have one and an NBA team? That seems very.
I bet they play in Canton or something.
It seems very greedy.
The Long Island Nets,
Cleveland,
the Delaware Bluecoats, and Grand Rapids Gold. Raptors 905 as well.
Raptors 905 I've heard of.
Okay,
that's the first. I knew Grand Rapids had a team. I believe Donnie Tyndall coached that team at one point.
Wow.
That's why I knew Grand Rapids had a team. And I have heard of the Raptors.
Is he still in the middle of his show cost, his 15-year deal?
Yeah, they may have just thrown him in jail by now.
Still is.
I think the NCAA actually locked him up at this point.
You feel like Donnie Tyndall would come out and try to actually get back in now?
I think he's like selling cars in Knoxville right now or something. Really? I think he's out of basketball, or he's at some junior college somewhere where he had a lot of success.
He's working at Alimony. What was the name of that place?
That was Kim Pearl.
Yeah,
Bruce's ex-wife. Her place.
Jet,
we're going to find out what Donnie Tyndall's up to these
LeBron
days.
James is not going to retire.
According to Rich Paul?
Yeah, his guy, right? His Clutch Sports founder and CEO. Did anyone expect him to? He's going to be playing in the Olympics. I don't know why you would retire and play in the Olympics.
I didn't know this was speculation. I was pretty sure that he was going to at least come back for one more year. I didn't know this was a big
to play with
discussion. Chipola College, junior college, is where Donnie Tyndall's currently coaching.
Okay.
By the way, and I thought it may be something at JUCO, so he's still after it.
Yeah.
Apologies saying he was selling cars.
I just don't see.
Nothing wrong with selling cars.
Rich Paul says I think he has 2 to 3 years left in the tank, maybe. So.
Well, he's in the tank, all right.
He's going to be playing he's 39. He's the oldest active player in the NBA. He's on the Tom Brady plan here.
Yeah.
Every year there's going to be speculation. He's going to come back. And he's playing with his son. And 2 to 3 years from now, we're going to have a team in Vegas.
we're not paying.
He will end his career in Vegas.
I mean, all the LeBron jokes and everything aside.
You can have part ownership now, too, in the NBA as part of your contract.
Well, all the LeBron jokes and everything aside, we're not giving the guy probably enough credit for this remarkable longevity because he's still really good. Now, we're not giving him that because the Lakers are disappointments. It feels like year after year, right? They lost in 5 games in their opening playoff series this year. They're out already. But LeBron is, for a 39-year-old guy, still really good in the league. So that's why I didn't have any doubts that he was going to come back and play.
So he has 285 games played in the playoffs for his career. He's played 21 NBA seasons. So, I mean, he's really played 24, 25 seasons based on how many postseason games he's played. That's remarkable.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
But then he's playing the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting after this. This is not a headline that surprised me that he's going to keep playing. I think what is surprising is...
You buy the Bronny theory.
Well,
right?
he's an easy target, and LeBron James has made himself a target for a number of reasons, but it is incredible how well he's kept it together.
His health.
Throughout his career and his everything about him, that he's still playing at this level. At this point in his career. Yes, there's a drop-off. He's not the LeBron James that single-handedly beat the Warriors years back with the Cavs, but he's still playing at a very high level. It just doesn't often get that high amount of respect because they're not advancing deep in the playoffs.
You buy the Vegas theory?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to own a team.
But I think he ends his career there. And as part owner.
Well, they got to get that team pretty quick if he's going to end his career there.
Well, they have the arena if they wanted to use it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's usually if you're an expansion team, I mean, teams got to move there pretty quickly. Because if you're an expansion team, they announce that 3-4 years in advance, and I don't think he's going to make it that long.
Well, I don't, but Rich Paul's saying he's playing 2 to 3 more seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, so they'd have to announce it today. Then he would have to play 1 year there 3 or 4 years from now.
But they already have the arena, is what I'm saying, where the Aces play.
Yeah, but usually they don't announce we're going to expand and it starts next year with 2 teams. It's like a 3 or 4 year out process, and they have not said anything yet.
They got to work out who's going to win the lottery by getting the Vegas NBA franchise.
They got to get the A's there first, and whatever that monstrosity is, they're going to play in.
They say they're
and then they'll go to the NBA team.
Chad, Davey mentioned this to me, and he mentioned on the show yesterday. 137 picks between Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler in the NFL draft. After we saw 6 in the top 12, we waited 137 selections until we saw Spencer Rattler drafted. Nix went number 12. Rattler went 150. He's the 150th pick. And here's Ian Rappaport of NFL Network's NFL draft coverage giving an opinion as to why the wait was so long.
I want to mention something in addition to this, and this is kind of weird to say, honestly. Spencer Rattler did a reality show in high school. It's called QB1 Beyond the Lights. It did not make him look great, and it is unbelievable how many different teams mentioned to me the image of him in that show and how they can't get it out of their heads, which I think would be a public service announcement to all 17-year-olds. It is fascinating as teams weigh whether or not to draft him.
So this is, and we don't know exactly why in this show, Chad, he was suspended. He missed a big game for his high school. Apparently his parents said he was injured, they played it off like that, but he was really suspended. They never got into details as to why. But when I hear reality show, high school, I'm thinking, the fact that it kept him years later, where he goes to Oklahoma and plays for Lincoln Riley, and then we see Caleb Williams take over as he's booed on the field at Oklahoma, ends up going to a Lincoln Riley protege type coach, and plays at South Carolina. And I'm not saying he's the best quarterback going, but 150 picks between that guy and Bo Nix is the separation. Doesn't make sense to me based on a high school reality show. Because I'm thinking about Stephanie Pratt and Kristen Cavallari, Lauren Conrad in the Hills, or Rush Probst, who coached Hoover in a reality show of high school.
Two-a-days.
On MTV, Two-a-days.
I have the DVD of that first season.
And how Flavor of Love with Flavor Flav, where he's banging every chick on TV, and his popularity's never been more popular, and never been more relevant with his Q rating. But
Travis Kelce had a dating reality show.
yes, but like
Catching Kelce, wasn't that the name of it?
yeah, that's right.
I mean,
I don't know if anyone watched it.
The dude's with a billionaire global icon now, Taylor Swift.
But a high school reality show where you have so much information since then, where Oklahoma and South Carolina didn't seem to have a problem with said reality show, that NFL scout in some region is going to point to that and tell Ian Rappaport that, they took issue to whatever was shown on this television program. I'm sure we would take issue to something that's said during Hard Knocks that's edited out by the final edit of said team that happens to be featured that season. I don't get this at all. With multiple people saying that this must be the biggest story that's been hidden underneath the surface of his career that we've ever heard of in the history of NFL quarterbacks beginning their rookie season for this suspension in high school. I mean, you can come across as a complete, prick, but there are plenty of those dudes in the league. Plenty of guys that have a past in the league. Of course. And it's not coming from a reality show. It's from, a true criminal record instead of whatever took place here. This is just kind of an eye roll to me. If it's true, then let's find out what the suspension was for.
Well, okay.
We've heard a lot worse.
I say this as someone who dyed my hair blonde and wore, tank tops,
yes,
backwards hats, and the puka shell necklaces.
We got into this on the draft show with Clay.
Yeah, am I really going to believe? You're going to sit there and tell me that an NFL team said, hey, you just turn on the footage of that QB1 show, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about Spencer Rattler and all that he is at his core and why we as an organization passed on him as a quarterback. I don't buy it. I think it's
they can't get the image of him out of their heads.
It is a sensational statement by one scout that is a good source to Ian Rappaport, who gives him red meat. That's what this is. These are not your vegetables you're being given for info. This is red meat. We're feasting on it right now.
But not just one scout. How many different teams mentioned to me was the way he said this. Different teams.
First off, I think sometimes when these guys say this, they're not being completely honest. I bet it's 2 teams maybe 3. I don't think he went to half the league, and all of them are saying the same thing. And these reporters, I think, tend to go to guys, and I would too. I mean, this is the business.
So he was ruled ineligible due to a violation of the district code of conduct. So I take that as some sort of cheating. Code of conduct, right?
It could be a number of things. He could have spat on someone's face after a game. He could have gotten a fight, altercation with an official after a game. There could be a lot of things.
But very few details about
district code of conduct
to
me is not cheating as much as it is he did something stupid during a game and was caught. And they went back after the fact and said you're suspended.
Or said something. But still, but there are very few details about that. And then there was his family originally said that he couldn't play because he was injured.
Well, so let me go back to what I was saying about the reporters, okay, in this report. All right, red meat versus vegetables. Vegetables is, we didn't really like Spencer Rattler's footwork, so we passed, right? Or we saw this on film, or he doesn't fit our system. If Ian Rappaport says that, no one is talking about it. We're certainly not talking a lot about it. But if you get multiple people the way he claims to have gotten that say, this reality TV show turned us off of him completely. He was off our board because of this reality TV show. Now, that's something that gets picked up. That is red meat that gets feasted on by hosts like us and other shows. And I get it. I don't buy it. I just simply don't buy it. I think it's sensationalistic BS, and I don't buy it. Hutton, this is what they're actually saying in this. We watched Spencer Rattler on this show, and Spencer Rattler in high school was a tool.
Yeah.
Came across as a douchebag, for lack of a better term. How many high school kids could you describe as tools when they're in high school? I mean, that is so stupid. If you're evaluating a guy for one last scholarship spot and he comes across as a tool with his coaches or his teammates or whatever, you don't want to offer him that scholarship based on whatever school, that's fine. This was high school. You know what Spencer Rattler did after high school? He went to Oklahoma as the number 1 quarterback in the country, and he got his ass humbled.
Yep.
Quick. He sucked.
He was booed off the field.
He was not good as the number 1 guy. You think that might change someone? You think that might turn someone from a tool to something else when they have to go somewhere else and pick up the scraps of their career, and they go from a program like Oklahoma to a program like South Carolina? All respect to South Carolina. They're in the SEC. They ain't Oklahoma, where he went originally. And he had to go there. And he had to make something of his college career. That's what you focus on in the NFL draft. That and, I don't know, his film. You actually watch the guy play quarterback while he's in college? Let's take a look at that. Not some stupid reality show from when he was in high school. That's why I don't buy it. It's a great report. It got us talking. It got others talking. I don't buy it for one bit.
Well, and they had the school and the district had no comment whenever he was suspended. Lincoln Riley had no issue with it based on the information he gathered at the time, right? And it was this show that actually delved into the depths of whatever the suspension was about, which was still, we don't know that much about it because they kept it hidden for so long. I was suspended for the final month. But going back to just the reality shows of our era, Chad, Liz Gately would love this story. Who created Laguna Beach, the real Orange County.
Yeah, I think
the real Rattler of Arizona.
Red meat is the wrong dinner analogy. This is dessert. This is a dessert report. That this has us all eating our sweets now because we're talking about a tabloid reality show. This is the reason teams didn't draft him, and I just don't buy it. I think that is a juicy, little bitty, minute detail in someone's evaluation that multiple people may have said. But I'm not buying that that's the reason they didn't draft Spencer Rattler ultimately. Well, and how unfair is that to Spencer Rattler also? If multiple teams are saying, the only reason he was great everywhere else, great for our system, seems like a good enough guy. But, man, that film that we watched of that reality show and his parents lying for him, that really turned us off, and we took him off the board.
How about this? The other report was, and this is from McAfee, I believe, the 2 teams that were really in on Rattler, maybe second round beyond, Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons. Those 2 teams.
And then, the Falcons were going to draft a quarterback clearly at some point.
Yes, and after those 2 teams were out, where they drafted their quarterbacks, they didn't need him. So there's the real reason for the 150 pick drop. And I'm not saying he's anywhere close to that group. Neither is Bo Nix. But adding this to it is just bizarre. We can tie in later this. Spencer Rattler's the former MVP of Elite 11. Trent Dilfer, of course, right there on top of Elite 11 with all the years doing that.
He ran it for a while.
Ran it for a long time. And he's got a exclusive through ESPN behind the scenes of, he's got UAB, the Blazers, the entire program, signing up for athletes.org for the coming together for revenue share. Jim Harbaugh was preaching revenue sharing. He was on top of it. He was at the forefront. He was in the pulpit for revenue sharing. That was the 2 words you shouldn't say as a coach for the last couple of years, revenue sharing for players. Harbaugh was pushing it. Dilfer's doing more than that because he's got his team behind it. And he'll join us later this week to detail. He joined us last week. It gave great detail on quarterbacks in the draft. Now we'll discuss the players he's coaching and why he's signing up for it. But he's a player's first coach. And what he said about, I want my team to be able to do this if they have a chance to cash in when everyone else is cashing in. If you're really a player's first coach, every coach should be doing this, having their team have the opportunity to sign up for athletes.org